Chapter 7 is fairly straightforward. There are no timed side objectives, so you can take as much time as you want with the chapter. I decided to give most of my experience to Gilliam this chapter. My Gilliam is far above average in terms of speed, and I'll need a reliable promoted unit to sprint forward every turn in Chapter 9 if I want a chance of obtaining the Ocean Seal for Colm. It's mostly a novelty, but I send Colm and Neimi to capture the ballista on the left side of the map. Archers can ride ballistae, firing shots at long range, and the Fire Emblem 8 ballistae are on wheels and can even move. This one is mostly for show, since the surrounding forest tiles completely blocks its movement range, and it can only really be used to attack 2 units on the entire map. However, if I'm going to use Neimi regardless, I'll commit fully to the bit and do something that only Neimi can do. Most units have to walk the long way around the map due to the river preventing direct access to the north path. Efficient playthroughs typically bypass this by using Vanessa as a taxi to ferry units directly towards the objective. Had I turned Ross into a pirate, I could have had him cross the river while carrying my lighter units over his shoulder. If I keep the footage sped up and don't mention it, do you think anyone would notice that I carelessly left Natasha in range of the mage who can attack her from over the cliff, or should I pretend that I did the math and confirm that she would survive with a single point of health? Let's go with the second one. Makes me sound smarter. Fun fact of the day, do you know that Lord units like Eirika can actually cross river in several Fire Emblem games? You can do it in this map as well, but it takes all 5 tiles of her movement range in order to cross a single tile of river. Also, her con stat is too low for her to carry anyone with her on the trip, so I didn't determine it to be worth it for this chapter. But if you ever find yourself replaying Fire Emblem 7, give it a shot in that early chapter that has Guy in it. Use either Hector or Eliwood, and you can actually carry units across the river and take a unique path. Probably the funniest example of Lord River walking in the entire series has to be Colm in Awakening. The first chapter of that game has pools of water where the enemies can't reach you, but you could reach some of a ranged weapon. If you pair up a unit like Robin with Colm and simply walk onto the pool and stand like Jesus, you can swap to Robin and start attacking the enemies from a position where you can't be hit back. That isn't even a joke or a meme strat, it's legitimately a good way to get a Robin snowball going because the best way to beat that game on the hardest difficulty is generally a Robin solo. Awakening's a silly game. The boss of this chapter drops a Knight's Crest we could use to promote Gilliam, however I might hold off for just a couple more levels to squeeze some extra stats out of him. Since my Gilliam is unusually fast, he might be doubling a lot of enemies after promotion. If I can get a few extra stats on him, he might snowball pretty hard and carry me through the mid-game. We've also been making good progress with Ross, who's finally gaining enough speed to double a wider range of enemies. I think Ross will be an offensive powerhouse in the late game, but for now, I need a sturdy defensive unit like Gilliam to take on the hordes of enemies alone. Also, I want to shame my Colm for only having 6 points of strength at level 10. I send Gilliam forward to solo the boss to get some extra experience points, and so he can earn his Knight's Crest himself. That was a fast chapter because we didn't have any new units to go over, so let's move on directly to Chapter 8. Chapter 8 features the return of Ephraim, Kyle, and Ford, none of which we're able to use for this challenge. However, there's a hang-up. Ephraim and the boys spawn in on turn 2, where they will soon be attacked by this charging archer. While I'm excluding Ephraim, Kyle, and Ford from my challenge, I don't have any high movement range units I can use to intercept this archer in time. I decided to minimize the impact of this by allowing the band units to take hits without killing the archer, and it'll get them out of the danger zone as soon as I can stabilize the situation. This is probably going to happen again on Chapter 15, unfortunately. There's a treasure room up top guarded by 5 armor knights, and I'll need to send units to the bottom left in order to bail out Ephraim. I decided to split my army, sending Ross, Colm, and Natasha up top to secure the valuable angelic robe, while Gilliam, Neimi, and Eirika will go to the left. On the start of the second player turn, Ephraim's going to spawn in. I'll keep him and the boys hidden in the lower left corner to not trigger aggro from any further enemies besides the archer that's already charging their position. Having had her for 4 chapters now, Natasha finally has the stats and level to match the base molder the game hands you in Chapter 2. This is why she isn't a good unit in a no grinding scenario. I've given Colm the Armor Slayer so he can help kill some of the armor knights, but Ross will have to do the bulk of the work. Colm will probably die in 2 hits after all. Both Ross and Gilliam have done a fantastic job at hitting their 30% speed growths, as both have now hit double-digit speed from the humble beginning of base 3. The only unit I'm unhappy with is Colm and his low strength stat. It's on this turn that the archer will reach Ephraim and take a shot, ruining the integrity of my low tiers challenge. I have Gilliam and Eirika advancing as fast as I can to bail him out, but I'm not making very good progress. It's on this turn that I make a fairly serious blunder. I was unwilling to move Ephraim further to the right because I didn't want to draw aggression from more enemies and take more hits, further weakening the integrity of the challenge, although I completely forgot about the reinforcements attacking Ephraim from the back. I'm in full panic mode, but I come up with a strategy. I have Ford get rid of his weapons and carry Ephraim and allow the enemies to attack Ford so I don't accidentally end up hitting them. Unfortunately, I should have had Kyle throw away his weapons. There wasn't anyone available to trade inventory with, and he unfortunately ends up getting a single hit in on enemy phase, completely ruining my challenge. I figured this is going to happen again chapter 15 anyway, so I don't care enough to restart the chapter and have another go. I think it's more fun to treat this as a semi-Iron Man. Despite his attempts to retreat, Kyle gets completely boxed in by the enemy and gains a level up of shame. I send Gilliam to free Kyle and have Kyle retreat and give the enemy additional targets so they won't go after Kyle again. On the flip side, Team Ross is doing a fantastic job up top. I've finally cleared out enough of the armor knights that I can send in Colm to open the chest and secure the angelic robe. This item gives plus 7 max HP. I'm thinking of giving it to Neimi. She's at a mere 20 and could really use it. The enemy cavaliers are still running down Ford because Ford makes for an appealing target since he doesn't have a weapon equipped. However, I think I can get Ford and Kyle the safety of the choke point and give the enemies a more appealing target in Neimi, as they like to attack archers since they can't attack back at close range. It was at this point I assumed my series of mistakes was over and I could go back to playing the challenge normally. I forgot that the remaining cavalier had a javelin and my placement of Kyle was unfortunately not very good. Ford dies for his crimes. Hopefully, this maneuver appeases all of the Ford haters out there. We kind of glossed over it in the wake of Ford's death, but Ross has hit level 10 and gained yet another point of speed. He might be ripe for promotion soon. I'm planning on turning Ross into a hero this playthrough because I want to maximize his speed stat. If you go warrior instead, you gain 0 speed on promotion. While you gain a lot of other stats and you have a higher strength cap, I'm more interested in consistently doubling the enemy. As for Gilliam, I'll be promoting him into a Great Knight to maximize his increase to his movement range, which will take him from a 4 to a 6. I could promote him into a General instead for the larger promotional gains and extra point of speed, but you only end up with 5 points of movement range, which I really don't like. I lure in the enemy thief by allowing him to steal a vulnerary away from Ross so I can take a fresh lockpick off of his body. I then use Natasha to give him a chance to steal Colm's old lockpick back, replacing mine with his, just for fun. I also have Ephraim and Kyle relinquish their inventory into the convoy. Now, we're in the slow cleanup part of the chapter where there's not much interesting going on. It's why I think this chapter isn't very good because the gameplay slows down so much in the second half. So, to fill the time, we'll speculate about the future. Neimi and Colm's promotions might have to wait a little bit. I don't have an Ocean Seal yet with which to promote Colm, and Neimi is just freshly level 10. I could probably squeeze extra stats out of her in the meantime. I think that promoting Ross and Gilliam will probably be enough to get me through chapter 9 safely. When I do get around to promoting Neimi, I'm definitely interested in the ranger class as opposed to the sniper. Not only does it have a higher movement range and a horse, but I'm also interested in the fact that it has 2 higher con than the female sniper. It lets her use weapons like a steel bow with an effective 2 more speed. Now, Colm's promotional options are much less interesting in contrast. The assassin is technically a bit better at combat than the rogue, but the ability to instantly kill the enemy is inconsistent and kind of a gimmick you should not be relying on in your strategy. While assassins can still use lockpicks and it's easy to steal more lockpicks, assassins themselves forget how to steal items off of enemies, for reasons I still don't understand. However, I think the assassin is still a lot more appealing than the rogue promotion. All the rogue gives us is the ability to steal and the ability to bypass the use of lockpicks. However, we're going to get another rogue later in the game we can use to open chests with, so I want to choose the class that's better for combat since that's all we're trying to use Colm for as a low tier. It's a bit of a shame though, because I think that the rogue is animated very well and I like watching them fight. These 2 chests up left contain a silver sword and an Elysian whip used to promote flyers. Unfortunately, all of the unpromoted flying units are far too good to use in this challenge, so we'll be selling the Elysian whip to make 5,000 gold. Now that I've finally cleared out everything in the entire map, I send Ross to go fight the boss. The boss has a very high defense stat and is hard to kill without some sort of armor slayer or magic. Thankfully, Ross's strength is so high we can just bash for his HP slowly. Our Ross has become quite powerful by now because we've given him most of the experience since we obtained him. His power is more a result of our playstyle rather than him just being a particularly strong unit on average. I finished the chapter, claim my reward, and officially lock in my choice to go for Eirika route. Thank you for watching.